I know we all have different leverages and different bodies and muscle weaknesses, strengths, all that sort of stuff. But every single time I go hammer and tongs with squats in terms of volume, in terms of weight, mostly volume, but it has to be at a decent type of intensity as well. So that kind of 80% for 5x5, that kind of deal. Every single time I go hard at that sort of range, I don't have any other muscle soreness other than adductors. My adductors get absolutely smoked. And I remember back maybe 6 months ago, I was looking into why the adductors always get absolutely smashed. This was kind of around the time when I was looking at the hip pain and all that sort of stuff. And I realized that the adductors, beyond that 90 degree hip bend, beyond that, the adductors are the most mechanically positioned to extend the hip. So if you are squatting ass to grass, if you're going below 90 degrees at the hip angle, if you think about it, 90 degrees hip angle is even above parallel squats. That's like not that impressive. So if you're going below, even close to even if you're doing parallel, you're using your adductors in the initial portion. But if you're going all the way to the ATG, where you're putting your hamstrings onto your calves, out of that position, the adductors are the most mechanically positioned muscle to produce hip extension, which makes sense. So when you are descending in the squat, especially in those later kind of reps, you start to bounce a little bit more and more and more and more. And that bounce is, many things, but predominantly it puts the adductor at a really long position and a really hard contraction position. This is kind of how I think about why the adductors always get sore for me. Some people say, oh, my quads, get sore, my glutes get sore. For me, I don't know what it is, man, but my adductors get smoked. It was so bad. Last night it started kind of getting real bad, but this morning was real bad. It took me a little while to get warmed up. I didn't show all of the warm-up today. I just kind of kept walking around, marching around, doing deep squats, bodyweight squats, just kind of trying to establish some sort of range of motion. And then when the blood started getting kind of rolled around and all that stuff, I started feeling good. And as you can see by the title today, I managed to hit 180 kilos for a set of 5. Not only that, but I did that for three sets. So very happy how the squats are progressing. These 5s are going along really good. Really happy. There's not even even an imagination of hip pain. This is my story for the last year, I would say, probably even longer. Every single time I get in a situation like this where I have a really good bunch of time squatting, pushing it really hard, I would always end up with hip pain, and that would cause me to go backwards, shave away the volume, shave away the intensity, look around every single freaking muscle group. And I've done my, merry-go-round, every single muscle in the body, every single exercise, I've done that. I finally worked out what I need, what my body needs. And that's kind of the bottom line with all of this. You gotta learn what makes your body feel good. And I've worked out, what's working with me. And so I'm feeling really good today. I decided to squat off of these new squat stands, move it around. You guys know I've spoken about this in the past. My garage floor is wonky, man. They had poured this concrete probably 70 years ago, it seems. Probably 70 years ago. I don't think it was touched afterwards. And I don't know. The concrete's kind of broken in certain places. The squares or the blocks of concrete that are kind of separated, they're all kind of pointing in their own little kind of way slightly. I've done a spirit level on these things, and it's really hard even to do that. So I picked a bit of a flat spot here, and I decided to squat from these squat stands. I like these squat stands, man. Like, you could really go anywhere with them, not just on location, like at a beach or forest or something like this. You can move around, at your home. You can take it to the backyard if it's really nice weather. Today, the weather wasn't nice here. It was warm. It's still warm. It's kind of still summer in Australia. But it was very humid. Still around 30-degree temperature. I was hoping today to put all this stuff in the car and take it to, somewhere. But it was just pouring too much. I'll be soaked. And So I didn't opt to do that. Maybe tomorrow, but it looks like there's going to be a few days of rain, which is unfortunate because this morning I went over and I got these roof racks for my car. So I kind of spent the early part of the day kind of working that out. So I'm going to mount them probably tomorrow, and I'm going to see if I can use the Evo to transport all this weight around. Some of the concerns that I have with the Evo is that, number one, it's a sports car, so the suspension is not made for load. But the way I think about it is, okay, I'm going to take 180 kilos with me. If you think about how big people are in general, so two of my mates are around 80 kilos. So if my two mates sit in the car, that's 160 kilos. So that's kind of how I sold it to myself to put all this gear in the Evo. I'm just going to distribute the weight. It's not all going to be in the boot. Because if you put 180 kilos in the boot, the freaking nose is going to be pointing up in the sky. So if you just think about it like putting, having friends in the car, weight is weight, right? So that's why I decided to use the Evo. I'm going to put roof racks. I looked up some photos on the internet about, Rexys and STIs and Evos putting roof racks. It kind of looks all right. I never really considered doing that to my car, but it's an inexpensive mod. I'm going to do that so I can take my freaking squat rack with me. I'm going to put the squat stands on the roof and the weights in the car. And probably have to put the bar on the roof as well. It's rated to around 70 kilos, these roof racks. So I think the bar might even get in the car. I don't know how I'll go. I don't want to put too much weight on the roof, but that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm really excited about training. Today, all I really did was squats because I was so damn sore. I was thinking to myself, I could do squats and I could do deadlifts, but it's too much. So I really wanted to kind of try 180 today. And, I went 100, 140. That felt good. Sore at the bottom, but, the moment I started moving the weight around, it felt not too bad. So I put 180 on. I was a little bit skeptical in the first few reps, but I was really surprised how smooth the first rep was in the second rep. And so then the belief started coming in and I thought, oh man, I could do several sets of these. I stopped at 3 sets. I had some ideas about going further. But let's do 3 now, and maybe on Monday or Tuesday, we'll see how I go. I'll do 5x5 or something like this, but not to be too hungry, too impatient. I'm gonna just keep pushing the 5s. One of you guys said to me, if you're doing 7 sets of 5 at 170, maybe your max is around 215 or something like that. Maybe. I've used calculators in the past where you kind of type in your, I don't know, what you can do with 80% weight or 5x5 or whatever you can kind of do. You put that in, and in my experience, it hasn't always kind of translated. It kind of gets your hopes up and you feel good about yourself, but then you start putting on the 85% and 90% and 95%, and you start getting scared of the weight. There's a thing about moving heavy weight, man. It's like you can condition yourself to doing 5s, but until you spend some time with singles, you're never going to be really good at singles. It's just one of those things. You have to spend some time practicing whatever you want to practice. Specificity is king. Out of all the things, I think specificity is the most important pillar of training, getting stronger by far. And then for me, volume is kind of the second, and I like to get my volume through frequency. I think specificity, if we say that that's the most important thing, if you start doing crazy volume only one day a week with high specificity, I would argue that specificity suffers, because if you're doing 10 sets of 10 to get that volume in, how specific is that to your sport? Sets of 10 is not the same as a single. So I kind of always say specificity is number one, and I would say frequency and volume share the second spot, because obviously volume is key and you always have to push volume, but it needs to be a certain kind of specific volume, and the only way you can achieve that is through frequency. So those 3 words I kind of always think about. That's kind of how I think about my training. Specificity has always kind of been the most attractive thing to me. It makes sense. I remember back in the day playing basketball, I spent a lot of time just taking a basketball to a local basketball court and just putting up shots. Put up 100, 200, 300 free throws. Put up a couple of 100 3-pointers or something like this. You just keep shooting around for a couple of hours. And then you come to the game and, it's a different beast, man. You can't fiddle with the ball, roll it around, align your fingers to the line of the ball and shoot it. That's not a specific shot, man. Like, you're never going to get a shot like that unless there's a complete freaking breakdown in the defense. You're not going to get that. So you need to practice with specificity. What does that mean? You need to do some drills, man. Set up a couple of cones, run around, get somebody to pass you the ball, kind of mimicking you kind of rubbing shoulders off a screen, catching that ball and going into a jump shot. That's specificity. You standing around on a basketball court, jacking up shots for 10 hours, that's all well and good, man, but you're not going to be able to replicate that type of scenario in the game. Same thing with weightlifting, man. You have to practice what the sport is. And I know the sport that we're kind of interested in is the barbell sports, right? Whether it be Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever it is. I mean, bodybuilding is a different thing altogether, but my predominant interest is squatting the thing for a 1 rep. That's powerlifting, right? So if I spend a lot of time with 20s and 10s and 15s and 5s, and that's all well and good, and they all have a place, but you need to practice the sport, and the sport is a single. No one gives a shit what you can do for 5. In fact, I remember one of you guys, man, I can't remember what the fella's name was, but he messaged me and kind of showed me a video of him. He was taking 100 kilos, I think, for something like 40 or 50 reps or something like this. I think I want to say it was 100 kilo. It was just something stupid, like even 50 reps. And his max was only 150, 160. I'm getting the intricacies wrong here, but it was something drastic like that. He could do 100 kilos for 50 freaking reps. It was incredible to see. He just kept going and going and going. It was him and a couple of mates in a garage. And he was like, what do you think my max is? Man, I saw that. I'm like, dude, you're going to be squatting above 200 for sure. And he's like, no, man, I don't know what's going on with me. He's like, I grew up as an endurance athlete, spent a lot of time running, cycling, all that stuff. So his ability to process those waste products, his metabolic efficiency is through the roof, right? But his strength is different. So his, 1 rep max output is different. So that goes to show you, man, you can spend a lot of time with reps, but it's not going to necessarily translate. So for him, he just needs to work on, pushing, heavier weights, maybe for triples and things like that, something closer to the sport that we care about. He has an incredible amount of reserve for fatigue management. So he could do like freaking 10 triples at, 80% or 85%. Like with that type of fitness level, man, he could do some amazing things. So that's what I said to him, man. You got to spend a lot of time with triples, man, doubles, things of that nature, where you have to, brace differently, man. Bracing for a 5 rep max is completely different for a 1 rep max. 1 rep max, man, is completely different ballgame. And then on top of that, bracing for a pin squat at, 150% of your 1 rep max, that's another brace altogether. You literally feel like you are spasming through your obliques and all that stuff. Like, he's just locking up. So never forget that, man. Never forget what the sport is and what your goal is. I've been down this path, man. I remember before I started the Squat Everyday program, like I spent 9 months only deadlifting. There was no squatting. And, I had these ideas. I got influenced by certain people, and I was like, cool, no worries. Let me spend 3 months with 60% on the deadlift, and I'll just freaking push that, 20 reps, 15 reps, that kind of stuff. Just heaps and heaps of volume, 3 times a week, just bang, 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 bang. And then after 3 months, I went up to 80%, or what I think it was 70%, and then 80%. And then I was surprised that was really inefficient training. Number one, the blocks were way too big, way too long, and some of the stuff that I was, getting at the 60% block were decaying by the time I got to the 80% block. So, you gotta be smart about how you do things, and never get too far away from specificity. That's kind of my belief. Patreon is growing still. I want to take the time to thank the people that have jumped on board in the last 24 hours. That's Patrick Grierson, Richard Chi, Badonka Trunk, and Cole Zetz. I want to thank you fellas thank you guys for coming on board. It's always appreciated. I know it's kind of, maybe some of you guys are getting tired of me thanking everybody at the end of the video, but it serves my soul. It makes me feel good to thank people. I can't just, take this support and just not mention people and not thank people. I truly feel overwhelmed by the support. So at least for a minute at the end of each video, I have to spend some time and thank the people that are putting wind in my sails, putting wind into my sails for a passion that I love. And I think all of us share the same kind of love for improvement, human movement, getting stronger and all that stuff. So thank you guys, and thank all the names, beyond the names that I said today on the first page and the second page. I'm truly grateful. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.